you said it. I mean, I just have to. I don't feel I have to comment on that.
They're not all religious in Jerusalem, but you're right that that the more problematic settlers are.
Yes. Well, if you think the quarrel over the Holy Land is secular, I'm perfectly. In one way, I'm willing to agree with you because, after all human conflicts are secular. There is no God who takes sides. People who think that he does, or she does, or it does, are indeed dreaming. All conflicts are non-religious, if you want. I'll happily say that. The statement, there is no God, is as meaningless as the statement that there is one, because the entity under discussion is meaningless. But I said religion, not God. Okay? Now, religion which is at the root of the original quarrel, has also made it insoluble, is making it insoluble. These people, if you look at their propaganda, Jewish and Muslim, what they want is for the world to come to an end. They see in this the sign that they can bring on the Messiah.
The way this emphasis on the intrinsically, I would say almost autonomously bad role of religion is used by your compatriot Sam Harris, and you may or may not agree with him, is to say, as he has said explicitly, do not bother looking for material circumstances that motivate, that underlie violent Palestinian resistance or terrorism, because it's just religion. Now, obviously, the implication of that is, don't bother stopping the settlements. Don't bother even messing with things on the ground. And this is what most bothers me, and maybe you don't share Sam's view here, but this is what most bothers me about such an exclusive, and I would say misleadingly exclusive, emphasis on religion as the source of all evil.
Well, I don't know if that's what he says about Palestine or about the roots of Islamist violence in general, but I'm sure he wouldn't say the settlements had nothing to do with it. He certainly wouldn't do what not even you were willing to say and say the settlements are not to do with religion. On the broader question, I don't think it's true, for example, that bin Ladenism, whatever you want to call it, jihadism, is created by poverty and unemployment. No, I know it's the cause of a lot of poverty and unemployment. In fact, it's the deliberate cause of a lot of poverty and unemployment, because that's the ground in which they hope to operate. The blowings up of the hotels in Indonesia, for example, greatly reduced the national income of an already very poor country. It isn't the product of unemployment and poverty, it's the cause of it. You'll find that's consistent across the board. Afghanistan was reduced to beggary by the Taliban. So there's an always wonderfully congruent coexistence between extreme religiosity, poverty, disease, ignorance, illiteracy, and superstition. But that's the stew we're actually dealing with. However, I think people who say, I'm going to kill you, that's my friend Fleming Rose, for example, who's the editor of a newspaper in Denmark, an Al-Qaeda cell in Chicago, Illinois, has been found to have been helping to plot the death of an editor of a newspaper in the Democratic Open Society of Denmark. Are you telling me they're doing that because they feel that their wage packet has shrunk? Come on. No, my own emphasis is really not on poverty, but it is on various material circumstances, and I'll link to the piece in which I quote Sam Harris saying, I think, don't bother to look for this, or any other such variable. We'll link, and if I'm wrong, we'll see that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he holds that. If you don't, fine, then I would consider you more enlightened. Well, I'm a very great admirer of Dr. Harris, and I'll give you an example of, without consulting him or having read his stuff, the government of Gaza is currently run by Hamas, a ruthlessly Islamist party which publishes the protocols of the Elders of Zion, an anti-Jewish fabrication, on its website, and calls for the destruction of all Jewish people and for the total Islamization of Palestine. Now, these people have been told if they'll drop saying these things, the embargo imposed on them by the United Nations and others in the European Union will be lifted. They'll be able to get building permits. They'll be able to have all kinds of construction and aid. The floodgates of help will open for the people of Gaza. But they won't do that. That's not a price. They'll keep people in Gaza in poverty and misery and fear because they will not give up their religious fanaticism.
Well, you know what that's an example of to me? It's the way governing elites in general often sacrifice the welfare of their people. I would make a comparable argument about the relatively secular leadership in the West Bank of the Palestinian people. There are things they could be doing, but it would threaten the supply of money to them and they're not justifying it in terms of religion, but it's still happening because elites are elites, and they're often bad. But, you know, as long as we're on the subject of Sam Harris, the one final, we're running over time, but finally, I said this to kind of you and Sam in Mexico when we had this debate in Puebla, which I guess we can link to. I mean, it was such a multi-party debate that people should not go there for the thrill of mano-a-mano combat. But
no, indeed.
But I said to you, to Sam, I don't think I'm caricaturing your view when, I mean, Sam's view especially, but I think yours is, what we have to do, the priority has to be, expunge religion from the planet. And I said, so I think, Sam, your view is that if we will only, if we will run up to these Muslim extremists who are terrorists or who may be amenable to that or maybe leaning in that direction, grab them, shake them, and say, don't you understand, your God doesn't exist? I think Sam's view seems to be that's a productive thing to do. I beg to differ. And it's, again, because I think religion is not intrinsically bad, and many of these people who have not yet made the leap to terrorism will not necessarily make it, but they're more likely to make it like all religious people of all persuasions. They are more likely to be fundamentalist if they feel threatened. So leaving aside the merits of the case, I don't think it's tactically a productive strategy.
Well, I don't know of any instance of Dr. Harris going to the region and telling Muslims they must give up their religion, which is all nonsense anyway. He's been pursuing his career in neuroscience and building up a wonderful website called Reason, on which you can access almost all the debates and texts about the debates and debates about the texts of religion since human history began. So what you say isn't even a caricature. What I say in my book, since it's me talking, perhaps I can just discuss that. I say, if religion will leave me alone, I'm fine. I don't even want to have to know what someone else believes, as long as they keep it at home or within their family. But I know so many people now who live in the United States and Western Europe who have to go around under armed guard for things they've published that are novels, for example, or cartoons or editorials. Because Islam says, no, we will follow you home and we'll kill you because we think you've been rude to us. Now, if you don't see that that's a challenge, and obviously I can see from everything you've said before that you don't think so, then I think it's time to put up.
That's not true.
No, you have invariably, in all our discussions, you said, to the extent that it's true, it's because people like me must have upset them. And I'm sorry, anyone can. Well, I don't make just the assertion. I simply say to anyone watching this, replay it and see. You've never attributed the cause of any of this to itself, to its text, to its faith, to the preachments of the imams. It's invariably the outcome of some grievance that is inflicted upon them. No. This is a very, very, very dangerous parody of the real situation.
No, the preachments of imams do matter, and it gets back to a point that came up in our previous discussion where in your critique of my op-ed piece about Major Hassan, I said his perception of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq had seemed to push him toward or onto a slippery slope toward terrorism, whatever. I said, you said no, he was pulled by this imam, this radical imam. I agree, he was pulled, and my point is American foreign policy should not give the imam the rhetorical tools to effectively pull people. So I'm not denying the role of religious preachment, of religious scripture. I'm saying, there's a lot of unfortunate stuff out in the world, including some in those categories. But I'm saying, to work with them intelligently, you cannot start with premises such as those, that it is the subtitle of your book, that religion poisons everything. It manifestly does not. We do not have to eradicate religion in order to save the world.
The homicidal ravings of al-Awlaki, the Imam of Major Hassan, are not the outcome of the attempt of secular democracy to defend itself.
No, not many things aren't.
They are
many
not.
Bad things aren't.
They are their own responsibility, and the responsibility for it is his. Mm-hmm. And one day, I hope we'll catch up with him.
Okay. Finally, before I
you'll then be able to say when he goes on trial, poor guy, he was driven to it by who will it be?
No.
The editor of the Copenhagen paper by Salman Rushdie